"You're just a phase, Madison." That's what he said, like I was a passing storm. Like I didn't pick up his daughter from school every single day. Like I didn't hold her when she cried herself to sleep, asking why her real mom left. He said it with a shrug, no apology, no hesitation. Just those 5 words spat out like they meant nothing. But they meant everything to me, because I knew then. I wasn't just leaving a man, I was leaving a child who called me mommy. So I went silent. Planned everything, every file, every photo, every bedtime story I'd tucked her in with. I collected it all. 6 months later, when the judge asked Lily who she felt safest with, she didn't say his name. She said mine. "You're just a phase, Madison." That sentence didn't hit me like a slap. It was worse. It settled into my bones, sank deep like rot beneath pretty floorboards. I met Ethan Caldwell at a fundraising gala in downtown Charleston. He had that charming, disheveled single dad look that made you want to lean in. And I did. He was funny, kind, lonely in that honest kind of way. He told me about his daughter, Lily, 5 years old, loved dinosaurs, hated bedtime. He spoke about her with so much love. It pulled something open in me. I wasn't planning on falling in love with a man, or his kid. But that's exactly what happened. At first, it was small things. Weekend trips to the park, pancake breakfasts where Lily demanded whipped cream and sprinkles. Then, somewhere between story times and scraped knees, I became part of their world. Ethan started calling me after school drop-offs. "Come over," he'd say. "Lily's been asking for you." One night, he held my hand and whispered, "This house finally feels like a home again." So when he asked me to move in, I did. I left my job in Atlanta, packed everything into my car, and started over for him, for Lily, for the family I thought I was building. At first, it was beautiful. Lily would sneak into our bed at 3 a.m. after a nightmare. We built blanket forts and watched cartoons on Sunday mornings. I helped with spelling tests, brushed tangles out of her hair. She called me Mommy Maddie on her own. Ethan would wrap his arms around us in the kitchen and say, "This right here, this is everything." But slowly something shifted. He stopped texting when he was late, stopped saying thank you when I packed Lily's lunch. He started making jokes in front of friends, calling me the stand-in nanny. I laughed it off because love is patient, right? Because maybe he was stressed, but the coldness didn't fade. It deepened. And then came that night, that one sentence, that one moment that split everything in two. We were standing in the kitchen. Lily had just gone to bed. I was folding laundry, and Ethan was scrolling through his phone. I asked if he'd be home early the next day. Lily had her school play, and she wanted him there. He looked up, like he forgot I was even there, and then he said it. "You're just a phase, Madison." Silence. I blinked. "Excuse me." He shrugged. Didn't even look guilty. "Lily's had a few women call themselves mommy. You're not the first. She'll forget you in a week." I stood frozen. The laundry fell from my hands. Everything inside me went still, except for my heart. It was pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just walked upstairs. Lily was fast asleep, curled up with the stuffed dinosaur I bought her. I knelt beside her bed, brushed her hair back, and whispered, "I love you more than he'll ever understand." That night I slept on the couch, because suddenly the bed felt like a lie. And in the morning he handed me my suitcase. Told me I needed to make space for his ex-wife, who wanted to be more involved again. Just like that. No warning, no goodbye from Lily, no decency. He shut the door before I even reached the sidewalk. I stood there, clutching my suitcase, tears burning down my cheeks. And all I could think was maybe I was just a phase to him. But to her, I was the only mother she had left. I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't break down, but I made a decision. One he'd never see coming. This phase was about to make history in family court. He didn't even let me say goodbye. 1 minute, I was helping Lily brush her teeth. The next, I was standing on the porch with nothing but a suitcase and a toothbrush. He didn't shout. He didn't slam the door. That would have required feeling. Instead, Ethan just closed it, softly, like he was erasing a mistake. I stood there, staring at the wood grain, thinking, maybe if I knock again, Lily will open it, Maybe she'll run to me. Ask why I'm not making her pancakes. But I didn't knock. I knew what he'd say. You're not her mother. That line was already carved into my chest. I didn't need him to twist it again. I got into my car and drove without knowing where I was going. The roads in Charleston were blurry through the tears, but my hands didn't shake. Because somewhere beneath the heartbreak, I felt something sharper, clearer. Rage. Not the screaming kind, not the kind that breaks dishes or keys cars. The quiet kind, the kind that sharpens you. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town. The air smelled like bleach and regret. But it was quiet. And I needed quiet. I stared at the ceiling that first night and played every memory on repeat. The first time Lily called me mommy. The first time Ethan kissed me like I was his future. Had it all been fake? No, it had been convenient. I was the stand-in, the emotional babysitter, the woman who cleaned up the mess while his ex-wife went off finding herself. And now that she wanted back in, he discarded me like a rental. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Lauren Ortega, family law attorney. A woman who knew exactly what men like Ethan looked like in court. You don't have custody rights, she said after hearing my story. My throat tightened. But before I could hang up, she added, yet that one word pulled me off the floor. I met Lauren the next day. She wore navy suits and didn't smile often, but when she did, it was like someone turned on the lights. We went through everything. Texts from Ethan, photos of Lily's birthday party with me front and center, emails from school addressed to me. Lauren nodded slowly. This isn't going to be easy, but you've got something most people don't. What I whispered, the truth. We built the case like you'd build a bridge, quiet, careful. Every piece had to hold weight. I printed every drawing Lily ever made for me. Letters with Mommy Maddie scrawled in pink crayon. We subpoenaed Ethan's daycare records. They all listed me as the primary pickup. Lauren helped me draft a motion for visitation rights. We filed for de facto parent status. It was legal jargon for something I already knew. I was her mother, even if biology said otherwise. Weeks passed. I didn't reach out to Ethan, didn't beg, didn't plead, but I wrote letters to Lily every night, telling her I loved her, that I was coming back, that this wasn't the end. I never mailed them. They weren't for her. They were for me. On the day of the first hearing, I wore the necklace Lily gave me, a plastic dinosaur charm on a yellow string. She'd made it in preschool. Ethan was already there when I arrived. Slick suit, confident smirk. His lawyer was a man who probably charged by the minute and billed by the ego. I sat down next to Lauren. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence was armor. When the judge called the case, Ethan leaned back like it was a joke. Then Lauren stood and laid down the truth. She painted a picture of a woman who gave up everything, moved cities, became a mother to a child not born of her body, but of her heart. She showed the judge photos of me at school drop-offs, letters from teachers, recordings of bedtime songs. And then she played the voicemail, Lily's voice, small and sleepy. Good night, Mommy Maddie. I love you. Don't forget the dinosaur book. The courtroom went still. Even Ethan stopped tapping his pen. When it was his turn, he smirked and said, She's just a girl I dated. She's trying to stay relevant. The judge raised an eyebrow. Does Lily know she's gone? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. She asked for her once. The judge leaned back and wrote something down. We didn't get full custody, not yet. But we got a hearing, and something more important. We were no longer invisible. That night, I went back to the motel, took Lily's plastic necklace off and laid it on the nightstand. I stared at it for a long time. This wasn't over, not by a mile. And I was done being his phase. Now I was his consequence. The next week, I was granted supervised visitation, just 2 hours at a community center. I bought Lily's favorite snacks, wore the sweater she always said made me look like a hug, and I waited. When she walked through the door, she froze. For a second, I thought she didn't recognize me, but then she ran, arms outstretched, eyes wet. Mommy Maddie. I dropped to my knees as she collided into me. It took everything in me not to cry, but the dam broke the moment she whispered, I missed you every night. We colored, We played Uno. She told me about her new teacher and how Ethan didn't let her bring her dinosaur books anymore. I listened, memorized every word, because I knew 2 hours would vanish like a blink. When it was time to leave, she clung to me. I don't want to go. I know, baby, I said, but I'm working on something. A surprise. She looked up. Is it big? I smiled, brushing her hair back. The biggest surprise of all? The counselor watched, took notes, said nothing. But when she looked at me as I handed Lily back, there was softness in her eyes, empathy, maybe even belief. Over the next month, Ethan tried to block more hearings, filed petty complaints, said I was manipulative, said I just wanted attention. But every time he tried to make me small, I showed up taller. Every time he tried to erase me, I brought proof. And when he tried to twist the story, I let Lily's voice untwist it. This wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about recognition, about justice for every woman who loved a child that wasn't hers, and got erased when the man decided she wasn't convenient anymore. I was no longer a phase. I was the storm he couldn't predict, and the mother his daughter chose. The next court date was set, and this time, Lily would speak, in her own words, to the judge, and Ethan. He was about to learn that real mothers don't need matching DNA. They just need love that shows up, every single day. The courthouse smelled like old paper and cold coffee. That morning, I didn't wear black. I wore blue, soft, calm, honest. The color of someone who wasn't trying to impress just to be heard. Lauren met me on the steps. She looked like steel wrapped in silk, and she didn't ask if I was ready. She already knew. This was the full custody hearing. Everything we'd been building toward. Ethan was already inside, laughing at something his lawyer said. Like this was a game. Like he hadn't dismantled my life for sport. But I didn't look at him. I looked straight ahead, because today wasn't about him. It was about Lily. We'd asked the judge to let Lily speak, not to choose sides, just to share her truth. Most judges don't like putting a child on the stand, but we had precedent. Lily was 7 now, old enough to know her feelings, old enough to know who made her feel safe. The courtroom filled up. Family court isn't flashy like TV. No jury, no dramatics, just files, facts, and fatigue. The judge walked in, stern, female, the kind of woman who'd seen it all and still believed in truth. We sat, the hearing began. Ethan's lawyer went first. He talked about biology. He talked about the sanctity of blood. He brought out documents, custody agreements, parenting plans that had my name nowhere. It was cold, efficient, designed to erase me. When it was Lauren's turn, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't grandstand. She told a story. My story, Lily's story. She showed text messages. One from Ethan that said, "I don't know what we'd do without you. Lily thinks you're her angel." She showed school emails, signed by me, medical appointments, authorized by me, drawings of stick figures labeled me, Mommy Maddie, and Daddy. Then came the video. Lily, 2 years ago, sitting on my lap reading. She was giggling, holding my hand. In the video, she turns to the camera and says, "I love you, Mommy." The judge didn't flinch, but her pen paused. Then it was time. They called Lily. She walked in wearing her favorite yellow dress, the one with tiny white flowers. She clutched a stuffed dinosaur in her arms, the same one I gave her. She looked so small. But when she sat down, her back was straight. She wasn't scared. The judge spoke gently. "Lily, do you know why you're here today?" Lily nodded, "To talk about my family." "And who's in your family, sweetheart?" Lily looked at Ethan, then at me. "My daddy and Mommy Maddie." Ethan shifted in his seat, but said nothing. The judge smiled slightly. "And what does Mommy Maddie do for you?" Lily lit up. "She makes the best spaghetti. And when I'm sick, she reads the dragon book and brings tea. And when I have nightmares, she rubs my back until I fall asleep." The room went silent. The judge leaned forward. "And how do you feel when you're with her?" Lily looked down at the dinosaur and then up. "Safe, like, my heart is okay." My throat burned. Lauren squeezed my hand beneath the table. They asked her one final question, "Lily, if you could live with both, would you want that?" She nodded. But if I can only pick one, I want to live with Mommy Maddie. Ethan finally spoke. This is manipulation. She's just a child. The judge raised a hand. Firm, final. Mr. Caldwell, I will not tolerate interruptions. He slumped back, red-faced. After that, we recessed, waited for deliberation. I walked outside, sat on a bench under a crepe myrtle tree. The blossoms were falling tiny pink petals that landed softly on my lap. Lauren sat beside me. She didn't say anything, just sat there. Minutes felt like hours. Then we were called back in. The judge looked at me, then at Ethan. Her voice was clear, measured. This court acknowledges that while Ms. Carter is not the biological mother of the child, she has demonstrated consistent nurturing and primary caregiving over an extended period. She continued, in accordance with South Carolina precedent on de facto parenting, this court is awarding joint legal custody, with primary physical custody to Madison Carter. My breath caught. I didn't cry, not yet. Ethan exploded. This is insane! She's nothing! The judge turned to him, cold. She's the mother your daughter chose. And just like that, it was done. Lily ran to me outside the courtroom, wrapped her arms around my waist. I knew you'd come back. I kissed the top of her head. Baby, I never left. That night, I tucked her into a new bed, in a new apartment. Ours. She asked me to sing the dinosaur lullaby. And as I did, she fell asleep clutching my hand. This wasn't just a win in court. It was a reclamation of my name, my worth, my motherhood. Ethan called me a phase, but what he never understood was phases fade. Mothers, we stay, we fight, we love loud and soft and all the spaces in between, and sometimes we win. Not because the world gives us permission, but because love like that can't be ignored forever. When we got home, Lily danced around the living room with her dinosaur tucked under one arm. She asked if we could paint her room pink and green. Not just pink, not just green, both. I laughed for the first time in what felt like months. Anything you want, baby. We didn't have much. A mattress on the floor, takeout containers on the counter, hand-me-down furniture from a friend of mine. But it was ours. I hung up her drawings on the wall. All the ones she'd made for me when I was gone. Some said, I miss you. One said, in shaky letters, don't give up. I didn't. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat in the dark and listened to her breathing, and I let myself cry. Not the broken kind of crying I did the day Ethan kicked me out. This was different. This was release. This was victory. This was proof that love, real love, doesn't get erased. In the weeks that followed, Ethan tried appealing the decision. He tried to make me look unstable, too emotional, too attached. But every time the court looked at Lily, and Lily kept choosing me, not with arguments, not with fancy words, with love, with her arms wrapped around my waist at school pickup, with her notes on the fridge that said, Mommy Maddie is the best. Ethan started showing up less, calling less, because somewhere deep down, he realized something I knew from the start. I wasn't a phase. I was the real thing, the kind you don't recover from, the kind that changes your life. I thought back to that night on the porch, to the suitcase, the silence, the sting. If I could go back to that moment now, I wouldn't beg him. I wouldn't cry. I'd whisper to myself, hold on, because the world doesn't get to decide who you are. You do. And this was only the beginning. It took time for Lily to stop flinching when the doorbell rang. She thought he might come back, take her again, erase me like he tried before. But every time she looked up at me and I was still there, she healed, a little more. Trust doesn't return with a court order. It rebuilds slowly, in bedtime songs, in morning cereal rituals, in all the tiny silences that now felt like peace. She called me Mom now. The Maddie part had quietly fallen away one rainy afternoon while we painted dinosaurs on her bedroom wall. She just said it, Mom. Can I use the blue? And my heart split open. We were no longer surviving. We were becoming... I got a job at a nonprofit nearby. Flexible hours. Good people. They understood I was still learning how to breathe again. Lily started drawing pictures of our apartment. She'd label it our home. Not big, not fancy. but ours. I found joy in ordinary things again, packing lunches, cutting sandwiches into hearts, but there were still ghosts. Sometimes Lily would have nightmares. She'd whisper in her sleep, "Don't let them take me." And I'd hold her, tell her no one was taking her anywhere. Ethan's visits became inconsistent. He'd cancel last minute, blame work, blame traffic, blame the system. But deep down, I think he blamed himself. Because Lily never ran into his arms again, she stood still, watched, waited, like she was measuring whether his presence was real or just another trick. The last time he came, he tried to bring her gifts, a pink bike, a box of glitter slime. She looked at them, then at me, and asked him a question I'll never forget. "Why did you say Mommy was just a phase?" Ethan froze, and for the first time, he had no answer. He left 20 minutes later, didn't hug her goodbye, didn't even close the door properly. Lily walked over and locked it herself, then crawled into my lap and whispered, "He doesn't see me." I didn't say anything because she wasn't wrong. I couldn't erase his absence or his failures, but I could be the one who always stayed. So I made her a promise, under the glow of her nightlight. With her tiny hand in mine every day you wake up, I'll be here, no matter what. She nodded like she believed it with her whole being, and maybe for the first time, I believed it too. That spring, I filed a petition to update her legal documents. Name, school records, medical contact, everything. It took months, more paperwork, more hearings, but this time, it wasn't about proving myself. It was about protecting her. And when the final paper came in the mail, signed and sealed by the family court, it said, "Legal Guardian Madison Carter." I held that paper like a newborn, because in many ways this was a birth of a new life, a new bond, a motherhood that had been questioned, doubted, dismissed, now etched in ink. I framed it, put it next to Lily's finger paint portrait of our little family, 2 stick figures, 1 dinosaur, and a big pink heart. Sometimes people still ask, "Is she yours?" And I don't flinch anymore. I just say yes, she's mine. Because she is, not by birth, but by every scraped knee I kissed, every lunchbox I packed, every story I read when she was too tired to finish the page. Because family isn't always in the blood. Sometimes it's in the battle. And I fought for her when no one else did. When I tucked Lily in that night, she looked up and said, "You know what I realized?" "What's that?" She grinned. "You're not a phase. You're the whole story." I didn't cry, I laughed, and kissed her forehead. She fell asleep holding the stuffed dinosaur, the same one I gave her years ago, the one that stayed through every nightmare, every move, every courtroom echo. And I knew then, this wasn't just the end of a fight. It was the beginning of forever. For her, for me, for the love no one could deny anymore. The following weekend, we planted flowers on the windowsill, marigolds. Lily picked them because they were happy flowers. We didn't know what we were doing. We spilled soil, broke 1 pot, laughed until our stomachs hurt. And in the middle of that mess, she looked up and asked, "Did the judge really listen to me?" I paused, then said, "Yes, sweetheart, she did. Every word." Lily nodded slowly, as if realizing something monumental. Good. Because I was telling the truth. She always had, more than any of us. We built new traditions, Friday pancakes with whipped cream, Sunday movie nights where she always picked dinosaur documentaries. Every day, she added something new to our home, a drawing on the fridge, a flower in a jar, a sticker on my laptop. She was claiming her space, her childhood. I started journaling again, writing about the quiet victories, like when she remembered to brush her teeth without asking, or when she whispered, "You're my best thing," just before sleep. I wrote about the hard days too, like when she came home crying because another kid said she didn't have a real mom. I held her close and said, "Real doesn't mean perfect. Real means love. And we've got that in every heartbeat." She nodded into my shoulder, and for the first time didn't ask if I'd leave. Sometimes I caught her standing in the mirror, talking to her reflection, telling herself she was brave, she was strong, that Mommy had her back. And I realized she wasn't just healing, She was becoming whole. One night, after she fell asleep, I took out the box of letters I'd written during the hardest months, the ones I never sent. I opened the first one, dated the day Ethan threw me out. It said, "Dear Lily, I don't know if you'll remember me, but I remember everything. Your laugh, your favorite bedtime song, the way you held my hand like it was the only thing keeping the world steady. I love you. I'm still fighting. I'll never stop." I read them all, one by one, and then I burned them. Not because they didn't matter, but because we didn't need them anymore. We had today, and that was enough. Lily's birthday came. We threw a small party in the park, just a few friends, balloons, cupcakes with too much frosting. She wore a pink crown and introduced me to every parent as my mom. No hesitation, no pause. And when we got home that evening, she handed me a folded piece of paper, a drawing, 2 stick figures holding hands. The words underneath, "Thank you for fighting for me." I framed it, not next to court orders, not next to certificates, next to my heart, because that's where it belonged, where she always belonged. And in the quiet of that night, while the marigolds glowed in the moonlight, I whispered to the girl who once doubted her place, "You're not temporary, you're not invisible, you're not just a phase. You're the reason I found the strength to become a mother. And the proof that love can rewrite anything, even the law, even the past, even a broken heart. Forever started the moment I stayed. And I'm not going anywhere." There's a certain silence that only comes after the war. Not the loud kind, not the cheering or crying, but a silence so deep it hums inside your bones. That's the sound I heard the morning I realized. I wasn't waiting for permission anymore. No more court dates circled in red. No more strategy calls with Lauren. No more sleepless nights wondering if I'd wake up and find it all undone. We were free. Lily had just started 2nd grade. She wore glasses now, little purple ones, and she insisted on walking to school like a big kid while still holding my hand the whole way. Her world was simple again. Snack bags and book reports, slumber parties and sidewalk chalk. And mine, it was sacred, because every moment I had now, I had earned in blood, patience, and truth. Some people still whispered. Some said Ethan should have fought harder, that a child should be with her real family, but they didn't see the nights he missed birthdays. Didn't hear Lily's voice go flat when his name came up. Didn't feel her panic the first time she got sick and thought he might come instead of me. They didn't live this love. I did. And Lily, she never doubted again. We started therapy together, not because we were broken, but because healing should be sacred too. One day, the therapist asked her, "If you could describe your mom in one word, what would it be?" She didn't even pause. Anchor. I held back tears, because that's what I had become. Unshakable, solid, held not by blood but by choice. And there is no love more powerful than one that's chosen over and over again, especially when it's hard. I started speaking publicly, at foster care fundraisers, adoption panels, telling our story, not to make myself a hero, but to remind people that the definition of motherhood isn't always found in DNA. It's found in the moments no one sees, the ones where you stay, the ones where you fight, the ones where you love past the point of reason. One night, Lily asked if she could read one of my old journals. I hesitated, then handed her one. Not from the beginning, but from the middle. From the part where I stopped being afraid and started being unstoppable. She read quietly for almost an hour. Then she looked up and said, "You were scared, but you never left." I nodded. Love doesn't always feel brave, but it chooses to be. That night, she left a sticky note on my pillow. Just 3 words. "Still choosing you." I kept it in my wallet, right next to her baby photo. The one where she's holding that battered stuffed dinosaur with a smile so wide it nearly splits her face. And I thought back to the girl I was, standing on that porch with a suitcase, told I was temporary, disposable, just a phase. She wouldn't recognize this version of me. Not because I look different, but because I stand taller, speak stronger, live louder, because that girl was made to feel like an accessory in someone else's story. But I became the author. And this was the ending I wrote for myself. Lily asked one day if we could legally change her last name to mine. I said, "Only if you want to." She smiled. "I already did. On my art homework, my teacher said it was fine. We went to the courthouse again, not to fight, but to finish. The clerk smiled as we handed over the paperwork. It felt easy this time, almost ceremonial. When the judge signed the document, she looked at Lily and said, "You sure about this, honey?" And Lily replied, "I've been sure since the day she came back for me." We celebrated with cake and confetti in our living room, just the two of us. She danced in her pajamas while I lit a candle shaped like a number 1. "Why 1?" she asked. "Because today we're starting fresh, year 1, us." She blew it out with a wish she wouldn't share. But I didn't need to hear it. I was already living it. That night, as I tucked her in, she whispered, "Does this mean I'm yours forever now?" I smiled. "You always were." A few weeks later, Lily had to write an essay for school, and the topic was simple: who is your hero? She didn't tell me she picked me, didn't tell me what she wrote, just handed me the printed paper one night and said, "You can read it after dinner." I waited until she went to bed, then sat in the quiet and opened the essay. It began like this: "My hero is not famous. She doesn't wear a cape. She doesn't have magic powers. But she is the bravest person I know." She wrote about how I made her feel seen, how I listened when others ignored, how I stayed, even when things got hard. She wrote, "People say family is who you're born to, but I say family is who comes back when you're scared." My mom didn't give birth to me. She gave me love. And that's more important. By the time I finished reading, my hands were shaking, but my heart had never been steadier. This little girl, the one they said I had no claim to, was now my biggest claim to life. She was my reason, my proof, my legacy. Years from now, no one will remember the court transcripts, the exhibits, the objections, the long hours spent buried in legal codes. But they'll remember her smile, the way she walked across her school stage, the way she said my name with pride, and I'll remember how close I came to losing it all. How quickly a life can be dismissed when people mistake quiet for weakness. But I wasn't weak. I was waiting, watching, sharpening, for the right moment, to speak, to act, to rise. And I did. Not for revenge, not for validation, but because I couldn't let her grow up thinking she was forgettable. Or worse, that she was loved only when it was convenient. Now, I look at her across the breakfast table, mouth full of cereal, hair a wild mess, telling me about a science project with way too much glitter, and I know she is everything, not just mine, but her own. Strong, whole, loved. And me, I'm not just the woman who fought for her. I'm the woman who stayed, the one who rewrote her ending, the one who was called a phase and became her forever.